Hello, sports lovers. Welcome to the most authoritative boxing channel here on social media. This is your boy, Matt. Today's episode is going to be a very interesting one because I would be giving you my post fight reaction between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Nigel Benn. This was a very interesting bout by all standards. The fight lived up to the hype and it generated that old school feeling, that family rivalry when Chris Eubank Jr. stepped into the stadium. It was a shock in the dressing room of Conor Benn, but it was a welcoming news for those in attendance. You could see everybody was excited. Chris himself, you could see the energy around him and the aura around him has gone a notch higher, and this fight has truly lived up to the expectation. I'm going to talk about it because I did not have this fight any closer than people are making us anticipate or telling us to believe, like the likes of Eddie Hearn, who thinks that the only two difference were the last two rounds, but I beg to differ. Eddie Hearn was not scoring the fight or was watching it with a biased lens, and I think that Chris Eubank Jr. won this fight 117-111, and the AI judges agreed with me, but the three judges who mattered scored it 116-112, all in favor of Chris Eubank Jr. That goes to tell you that the fight was not close, but it was competitive. Sometimes people forget that we score boxing round by round and not as a whole fight. So, per the round by round breakdown, I think that Chris Eubank Jr. did the most work. He threw more punches and he landed more punches. Though Conor Benn was having successes, maybe out of the 180 seconds, Conor Benn just has or often has just about 30 seconds of victory or 30 seconds of work within that 120 seconds. And people go berserk when they see him rushing in and they think that he has done a lot of work. Yes, on a couple of occasions, he succeeded in hitting Chris Eubank Jr., but Chris Eubank Jr. did a lot of damage. His jab was very, very efficient. His movement was better. And after the third round, you could see that he has taken total control of the fight. And Conor Benn was no longer having the spot. But one thing I noticed on Chris Eubank Jr. was that the weight cut was very, very, very tough on him because he could not go down to the eye level of Conor Benn in order to throw more jabs. He was still standing straight at the early stages of the fight, and even as the fight progresses, he changed his style. He was fighting like the smaller man, ducking Conor Benn's punches, and that should go tell you as a judge or as someone who is analyzing the sports that Chris Eubank Jr. had taken over the fight and is no longer scared of the rushing in because he has now begun to read the timing of Conor Benn. If a rematch happens, it will be an easy win for Chris Eubank Jr. this time around, but I don't want to see a rematch. Why? Because these two guys need to move forward to do greater things. Another thing that I noticed in this particular fight was that Conor Benn has a good chin, but he lacks the power because Conor Benn, the time he was at welterweight, those clean punches he landed on the likes of Chris Ajiri, Sam Vargas, that shots that put them down. Chris Eubank Jr. just stepped backwards and recovered and went ahead. But there was a vast inexperience shown on the side of Conor Benn. He did not know how to clinch. Chris Eubank Jr. would just clinch him and be throwing a lot of punches to the body, and that ended up slowing him down. Even Clarissa Shield made that comment on Twitter that the body shots will go ahead to affect Conor Benn in the later rounds, and it did. It slowed him significantly down because anytime they are in a clinch, Chris Eubank Jr. would make sure he lands a body and a headshot, and not just once or twice, but several times until the referee jumps in. And Conor Benn did not have an antidote to the clinching of Chris Eubank Jr., and that showed that Conor Benn is not that experienced, and he still has a lot to learn at age 28 and work. And like I always alluded, if you are with Eddie Hearn and you are truly talented right from the get-go, and at age 28 and you are undefeated and you haven't gotten a world title shot, it simply means you are not talented enough. And I don't personally believe that Conor Benn can beat any of the champions at 154 and 150 and 147 comfortably. All of them, you would see the other person winning. The likes of Booth Ennis at 150, at 154, he can't beat any of the champions. Get it from me, he can't beat any of the champions. At welterweight, he can't beat Jerome Booth Ennis, because that is so much skill. That is so much skill and so much IQ for him. Conor Benn cannot succeed. The Norma would use skills to beat Conor Benn, because from the look of things, Conor Benn lacks a lot of skills. He just fights with a lot of heart and a lot of speed. These guys are young. These guys are equally technical. These guys are more skilled, and that would go a long way to affect Conor Benn drastically when he faces this kind of guys. But with Chris Eubank Jr., I think that he should be pushing for a Canelo fight at the Wembley Sports Stadium, and that would be a very big epic fight when he wants to compete for a world title. But Chris Eubank Jr. has given a good account of himself. He was cut, I think, in the 9th round by Conor Benn with a headbutt, but still soldiered on and won all the subsequent rounds. Conor Benn should not bow his head down in shame, because he has given a decent or a very, very good account of himself. One of the best all British fights in a very long time. No title fight, but these two men left it all in the ring. So this is my reaction, my initial reaction. Kudos to both pugilists for entertaining us. Conor Benn is doing a press conference, whilst Chris Eubank Jr. has been sent to the hospital for proper medical checkup. I think that is needed because of the weight cuts, so that if there's any damage done to him, he should be able to stop it at once for his betterment and recovery. So this is my initial take for the Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fight, with Chris Eubank Jr. emerging victorious officially 116, 111, but on my scorecard, I scored it 117, 111 for Chris Eubank Jr. Thank you for watching. Stay positive. Your greatness has no limit. And also remember to subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, express your views in the comment section, and share so others can enjoy. Thank you.